Before we continue, a quick note. If this content feels useful or relevant to your life or English learning, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might need it. That support helps this project grow and reach more people. Now, let's begin. Feeling stuck is one of the most common experiences people have, but it's also one of the least understood. Many people think being stuck means they made a wrong decision somewhere in the past. They believe it means they failed, wasted time, or chose the wrong path.
But in reality, feeling stuck is often a sign of awareness, not failure. It usually appears when your internal world starts changing faster than your external life. Your routines stay the same, but your values don't. Your schedule stays full, but your motivation disappears. And that gap creates discomfort.
That discomfort is important, but most people try to get rid of it as fast as possible instead of listening to it. When you feel stuck, your brain looks for quick explanations. It says, I'm lazy, or I lack discipline, or everyone else is ahead of me. Those explanations feel simple, but they're rarely accurate.
What's really happening is that something no longer fits the way it used to.
Exactly. And when something doesn't fit anymore, the body reacts before the mind understands. You might feel tired all the time, or irritated without a clear reason, or bored even when you're busy. These feelings are not random, they're signals.
But modern life teaches us to ignore signals. We're taught to push through discomfort, stay productive, and keep going. So when the signals get louder, we label them as problems instead of messages.
And that's when people start feeling trapped. They say, I should be grateful, but they're unhappy. Or, nothing is wrong, but everything feels heavy. That internal contradiction is exhausting.
Feeling stuck is often the moment when pretending stops working.
That's a powerful way to put it. Another reason feeling stuck is so uncomfortable is because it removes clarity. When you know what you want, even hard work feels meaningful. But when clarity disappears, everything feels like effort without purpose.
You wake up and do the same things, but they don't connect to anything that excites or matters to you anymore.
And humans need meaning, not just activity.
You can be extremely busy and still feel deeply stuck. Because being stuck is not about lack of movement, it's about lack of direction. Many people confuse motion with progress.
Yes, and this is where self-blame usually appears. People say, I'm not disciplined enough, or I just need to try harder. But trying harder without clarity usually leads to burnout. Instead of asking, how can I push more, a better question is, what changed inside me?
That question opens a different door. Because often feeling stuck means you've outgrown an old version of yourself, and growth is rarely comfortable. Think about emotional growth. When your emotional intelligence increases, you stop tolerating things you accepted before. That includes jobs, relationships, routines, and even certain social expectations.
And when you stop tolerating those things but don't yet know what to replace them with, you enter a transition phase. That transition feels empty, confusing, unstable. But it's not useless, it's formative.
The problem is that society doesn't respect transition phases. We like clear labels, success or failure, progress or stagnation. But real life happens in between. Feeling stuck is often the in-between.
Let's also talk about fear. When you're stuck, fear becomes very quiet but very influential. Fear of making the wrong choice, fear of losing stability, fear of disappointing others. So instead of choosing badly, people choose nothing. And choosing nothing feels safer in the short term, but over time, it creates emotional numbness.
That numbness is dangerous because it disconnects you from desire. When you stop wanting things, you stop moving. People think numbness is calm, but it's not. It's suppressed emotion.
And suppressed emotion eventually asks to be heard. That's why feeling stuck can suddenly turn into anxiety, sadness, or restlessness. The emotion didn't appear overnight. It was ignored for a long time.
So the real question is not, how do I escape feeling stuck? The real question is, what is this feeling protecting me from noticing?
That question requires honesty, and honesty requires slowing down, which brings us to an important idea. Clarity does not come from speed, it comes from presence. When you're always rushing, you don't hear yourself. When you're constantly distracted, you can't feel what matters. Feeling stuck often means you need fewer answers and more listening.
Listening to yourself is uncomfortable at first, because when the noise stops, thoughts appear, questions appear, and not all of them are convenient.
But those questions are the beginning of movement. In the next part, we'll talk about how small, intentional actions help you move forward without forcing clarity or overwhelming yourself. In the next part, we'll talk about how small, intentional actions help you move forward without forcing clarity or overwhelming yourself. When people finally admit they feel stuck, they often expect a dramatic solution, a big decision, a radical change, a clear answer. But most of the time, what actually helps is much smaller.
Small actions don't feel impressive, but they are powerful because they're doable. That's the key word, doable. When people feel stuck, their nervous system is already under pressure. Big changes feel threatening. Small changes feel safe. Safety is what allows movement to begin.
This is where many people underestimate motivation. They think motivation comes first and action comes later, but in real life, it's often the opposite. Action creates motivation, even very small action.
For example, if you feel mentally heavy every morning, you don't need to redesign your entire life. You might just need to change how your day starts. Something as simple as not checking your phone for the first 10 minutes can shift your internal state.
And that shift sends an important message to your brain. I have choice. Feeling stuck is closely connected to feeling powerless. Small actions restore a sense of agency. Agency means believing that your actions matter.
And once you feel that your actions matter, energy slowly returns. Another thing people underestimate is emotional avoidance. Many people stay stuck because they avoid uncomfortable emotions. They avoid boredom, they avoid sadness, they avoid uncertainty.
Avoidance feels good in the moment, but over time it creates stagnation. Growth requires contact with discomfort, not extreme discomfort, but honest discomfort. Sometimes progress looks like sitting with an uncomfortable feeling instead of distracting yourself from it.
That's a form of action, too. Writing one honest sentence, saying one truthful thing out loud, naming one feeling accurately. These actions don't look productive, but they're deeply transformative.
This is where emotional intelligence becomes practical. Emotional intelligence is not about controlling emotions. It's about understanding them and responding instead of reacting. Language helps with that. When you can say, I feel disconnected, instead of I'm fine, you give yourself clarity.
And clarity reduces confusion. Confusion keeps people stuck longer than problems do.
Another trap that keeps people stuck is comparison. When you constantly compare your internal confusion to other people's external success, you create unrealistic expectations. You don't see their doubts, you don't see their transitions, you only see the result.
Comparison creates pressure, and pressure shuts down curiosity. Curiosity is essential for movement. When you're curious, you explore. When you're pressured, you freeze.
That's why small experiments are so effective. Instead of asking, what should I do with my life? Ask, what can I try this week? That question is lighter, kinder, more realistic.
And experiments don't require certainty. They only require willingness.
Patience is also crucial. Feeling unstuck doesn't happen suddenly, it happens gradually. You might notice small changes, feeling slightly less heavy, more present, more connected to your day. These are signs that movement has begun.
And movement doesn't need validation from others. Quiet progress is often the most sustainable kind.
If you're listening right now, here's a simple reflection. Ask yourself, what feels heavy in my life right now? Then ask, What small action would make this feel 5% lighter? Not perfect, not complete, just lighter.
5% is powerful because it's achievable. Achievable actions get done, and when actions get done, identity starts to change. You stop seeing yourself as stuck. You start seeing yourself as someone in motion.
And motion, even slow motion, changes everything. Before we continue, a quick reminder. If this content feels relevant to your life or helps you improve your English, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might need it. That support helps this channel grow and continue creating meaningful conversations. Now, let's move forward. One of the most frustrating parts of feeling stuck is that even when you start moving again, fear doesn't disappear. Many people expect confidence to arrive before action, but confidence usually comes after consistency, not before. When you start taking small steps, doubt often walks with you, and that's normal.
Yes, doubt doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something new. The mistake people make is believing that uncertainty is a sign to stop, but uncertainty is actually a sign that you're no longer living on autopilot. Autopilot feels safe, but it also keeps you stagnant.
That's why many people return to old habits even after realizing they no longer work. Not because those habits are good, but because they are familiar. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar growth.
And growth always asks something of you. It asks for patience, self-trust, and emotional responsibility. When you feel stuck, it's often because you're waiting for external permission to change, permission from family, society, or circumstances. But real movement begins when you give yourself internal permission.
Internal permission means allowing yourself to change without having everything figured out. It means saying, I don't know exactly where this leads, but I trust myself enough to explore. That mindset alone reduces pressure.
Pressure is one of the biggest enemies of progress. When you pressure yourself to fix your life, every step feels heavy. But when you allow yourself to experiment, steps feel lighter. That's why language matters so much. Instead of saying, I must change everything, you can say, I'm learning what works for me now.
That shift in language changes your relationship with the process. Another important aspect of staying unstuck is recognizing emotional patterns. Many people repeat the same cycle: enthusiasm, effort, exhaustion, withdrawal. They start something new with high energy, then push too hard, then burn out, then feel stuck again.
That cycle is very common, and it often comes from ignoring emotional limits. Being productive doesn't mean ignoring your internal signals. Sustainable progress respects them.
This is especially important for people who are used to being strong, responsible, or reliable. They often confuse self-worth with performance. So when they slow down, they feel guilty. But slowing down is not quitting. Sometimes it's recalibrating.
And recalibration is a skill. It means checking in with yourself regularly instead of waiting until you're completely drained. A simple question like, how am I actually feeling about this, can prevent long periods of stagnation.
Another reason people lose momentum is because they expect linear progress. But real life is not linear. It moves in waves. Some days you feel clear, other days you feel confused again. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human.
Consistency doesn't mean feeling the same every day. It means returning after setbacks. Progress is built on return, not perfection.
Let's also talk about identity. When you felt stuck for a long time, being stuck can become part of how you see yourself. It becomes a story. You might say, I'm just someone who doesn't know what they want, or I always get stuck. Stories shape behavior.
And stories can be rewritten. But rewriting a story doesn't start with a new ending. It starts with small evidence. Each small action becomes proof that you are capable of movement. Evidence changes identity.
That's why celebrating small progress matters, even if no one else sees it. You don't need to announce it, you just need to acknowledge it internally. Saying, I showed up today, is enough.
Another important point is environment. Sometimes feeling stuck is not about you at all, it's about where you are. Your environment influences your thoughts, energy, and behavior more than you realize.
Environment includes physical space, digital space, and social space. The people you listen to, the content you consume, the conversations you repeat, all of that shapes your mental landscape.
Small changes in environment can create surprising shifts internally. For example, reducing exposure to negative or overwhelming information, or spending more time with people who allow honest conversations instead of constant comparison. These are not dramatic changes, but they are powerful.
Staying unstuck also requires compassion. You will have days where you feel like you went backwards. That's not failure, that's part of integration. Growth needs rest.
And rest is not a reward, it's a requirement. People who never rest don't move faster, they just stop suddenly.
If you're listening now, here's a final reflection for this lesson. Ask yourself, what kind of support do I need to keep moving? Support could be structure, or silence, or connection, or clarity. There is no universal answer.
The most important thing is to stop treating feeling stuck as something shameful. It's not a weakness, it's a signal. And signals are meant to be listened to, not suppressed.
Feeling stuck often appears right before change. Not big, dramatic change, but honest change. The kind that slowly realigns your life with who you're becoming.
And that kind of change lasts.